All right, good afternoon. It is April 2nd. The time is 3:02 p.m. and this is a special meeting of the Argyle ISD Board of Trustees Budget Workshop. At this time, we'll determine if a quorum is present.
Leona McDow present.
Josh Westrom present.
Richie Duffenbaugh present.
Leanne Artho present.
Matt Sleeden present.
Craig Hawksworth present.
Sam Sladen present. We do have a quorum established. At this time, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We'll have a brief moment of silence. All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move into our public forum section. We have two individuals signed up. I'm going to go ahead and read the rules of the road. Hopefully it's becoming norm. Maybe someday we'll have an audio recording of this.
Yeah.
We can record this, so.
No, I don't think we should.
Okay. All right, we're going to move into public forum for the portion of today's meeting. Please note, board policy requires speakers sign up in person before the meeting is called to order. During this portion of the meeting, board members will listen to comments, but as designated spokesperson, only the president may respond to the speaker if needed and refer concerns to the appropriate administrator. Speakers can comment on agenda items, but trustees will not be able to discuss the items until they are before the board during the meeting. During special meetings such as today, speakers can only comment on agenda items. Board policy BED local provides the presiding officer with the ability to adjust the time allotted per speaker for effective meeting management. Pursuant to that policy, an individual's comments to the board at today's meeting shall not exceed 5 minutes. The presiding officer may reduce the allotted time for individuals to speak to no less than 1 minute for effective meeting management. Speakers are not allowed to receive time from other individuals. Today, each speaker will receive 5 minutes. Specific complaints about individual district personnel are to be processed through the district's grievance policies as set out in district policies DBA, FNG, and/or GF. Speakers are not permitted to refer to individual students or employees by name during the public comment period. Additionally, if you have a pending grievance that may come before the board in a level 3 hearing, please refrain from addressing the topic of your grievance except through the grievance process. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get this started. Rich McDow, you are first to go. Good afternoon. Floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees, Dr. Carpenter, your cabinet, elected officials, and their staff. My name is Rich McDow, and I'm currently running for place 4 of the Board of Trustees for Argyle ISD. I will tell you, it is saddening that we as a district are being forced to make cuts at the expense of our children and teachers. I know none of us want that. None of us want that here. I would like to mention and remind everyone that the Texas Constitution, specifically Article 7, Section 1 actually states, support and maintenance of system of public free schools. A general diffusion of knowledge being essential to the preservation of liberties and the right of people, it shall be the duty of the legislator of the state to establish and make suitable provisions for the support and maintenance of an efficient system of public free school. I could keep going about Section 2, 3, 4, but in summary, I'll go over 7. Article 7, Section 5 of the Texas Constitution outlines the establishment, composition, management, and utilization of the permanent school fund and available school fund, emphasizing the critical role they play in supporting public education in our state. Texas government leaders and lawmakers need to fund our schools properly and legally per our Constitution. In closing, we are the 9th largest economy in the world, and yet we are the 42nd in our nation in per student funding. I want to ensure that Argyle ISD has the resources we need to provide the best experience and education possible for our students. We can do better for our students and our teachers. Rich McDow, shaping the future together.
Thank you. All right, and our last speaker today, Asel Spielberg. All right, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. So I wanted to talk about the staffing plan, which is part of the budget meeting today. I just want to be sure that once a staffing plan is decided upon, that not only, I know that you guys will put it out there, what's going to be out there, but that you also explain what it means in lay terms. So essentially that a lot of the staff and teachers are going to have a higher workload. That even though we're opening up a new elementary school, a lot of the classrooms will still have a very high student-to-teacher ratio. People need to understand not just the line-by-line items in it, but exactly how it will affect their child's education over the next at least 2 years. I believe we're thinking this is a 2 to 3 year thing, because I think a lot of people don't fully understand the impact that these cuts are going to have on the individual teacher, classroom, and student. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is I know that it was mentioned in, I believe, the last budget meeting that copy services are going to be allocated to the elementary schools for them to manage it per school. I want to be sure that we are allotting enough money for grades pre-K through 3rd. Those children do not have access to Chromebooks, and they probably shouldn't either. But that means that those teachers require more copies than a 4th through 12th grade teacher does. So we need to make sure that we're not overburdening those teachers that need to make, and I just went through my son's first grade backpack. There's a lot of paper in there. And we want to make sure that we are taking care of those teachers and making sure that they're not more burdened than the older grade teachers. And then a third point, it was mentioned that we may be adjusting thermostats again. They were adjusted this year to save some costs. We may be considering that again. And I was just at the 6th grade center today. It was warm in there. Now, I know that we had discussed that the girls wear those big baggy sweatshirts and things, and that's mostly because they need to abide by the school dress codes. If we are going to increase temperatures, we need to figure out a way to make the dress codes easier for girls that have a harder time. So my daughter is absolutely stunning. I adore her, but she is all legs. And I cannot find a pair of shorts that fit within the rules for her right now because she grows about 3.5 inches a year. We need to make sure that girls especially are not being overly dress coded. We need to make sure that the rules make sense, especially when you have tall girls. And if it gets too hot, they're not gonna be able to wear the sweatshirts to cover up. So that might be something that we might wanna revisit in a way that's still practical, but that's not putting that onus on girls that can't affect how they're growing. So those are my 3 notes on that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our public forum. Ready to go? All right. Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve item 5A.
And
Or
I'll
you gonna
add,
present?
and I'll add real quick, just for a point of clarification, the staffing plan for today is about the new positions for JRE. Just want to be clear, that's what that's about for today. Okay. All right, Mr.
Right, this is similar to what you saw, was it a week ago? Seems pretty recent.
Last week, I think.
Last week, except that the new teaching positions is now 17 after going through and and carefully looking at what we had open. And this is 17 new teaching positions at JRE, but also at the other elementaries due to some of them switching to a different campus. It doesn't raise the ratio, it's still 22-1. We've looked at, going to 23 and 24, but in order to do that, we can't. I mean, unless we go up to like 28, and we're not doing that. We're keeping our ratios at 22-1 in elementary, and then at 25 in grades 5 and 6. So this is a request to add 17 new teaching positions, 1 police officer at the new campus for staff. We're kind of moving people around. And then instead of an LVN, we went back to, after some research, went back to an RN. And so the RN would be at JRE. But the 17 new positions are going to be spread out throughout Hilltop, South, West, and JRE, most at JRE.
So what is the number where you have to go ask for a variance? Is it anything above 22?
Anything above
23.
22 before the last 12 weeks of school.
Okay.
Is all the in-district transferring closed?
With teachers, it is. We're still looking at some of our paraprofessionals and we're still moving them around.
And if you think on average, you think about opening a brand new campus, our elementary campuses have about how many employees on each campus? 40-ish, probably?
40, 50.
Yeah, 40 to 50. And we're able to, because of what we've been doing with our efficiencies, we're able to get this down to 17, a police officer and an RN.
And again, this is not increasing class size, right? I mean,
Correct.
it's still 22-1. There may be instances where we have to go to 23, like when the school year starts, and which we've had to do at Argyle South. But if we do, then we'll come to you. But it doesn't mean we're going to add another staff member. For, if we go over to 23 in 2 classes.
And this was all factored into when we were projecting deficit budgets into next year. This 1.3 million is kind of factored into that.
Yes, it's included.
Correct.
Well, back when we projected that number, wouldn't this have been higher? Because we hadn't gone through this yet.
It was quite a bit higher. We projected a full staff, every position being new.
Yeah.
And so that's where we got our base budget from. This has it as it working down through moving staff around into different positions.
So we had about 2.6 in there, so we're about half of that.
So this is a 50% improvement.
So at this ratio that you're talking, the 22-1, are we looking at walking through the door in August at 22-1, or we're looking at a skosh, some extra room in there as we grow?
We're looking at the numbers that we had from the demographer.
Okay, so we're either going to be 22 or below in each
Yes,
class?
correct. Yeah, we'll.
right.
Which is
and
an October
right.
date, right?
Yes, which is an October
Yeah.
date.
November 1.
Okay,
We're trying to be efficient on our class sections, that we don't have an overage of sections
correct.
to put us at 16 or 17
Right.
necessarily.
Okay.
And Liz, your numbers already figure in the higher student costs we get for a new school.
That's correct.
And we get that for 2 years or just 1 year?
Say that one more time.
The higher student allocation, do we get that for
The
1
new
year or 2
instructional
years?
facilities allotment, the first year you get it for every student, and the second year you get it for the difference between what you have the second year and the
Okay,
first
so
year.
it's not gonna be that much more.
Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Western, motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Matthew Slayton with a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, Mr. Daniel. Now we'll go to workshop.
Yes, okay.
All right.
So we will move into our workshop session. The live streaming will conclude at this point, and we will record the workshop, which will be available tomorrow.